All right, let's talk about something that a whole lot of people face, but almost nobody wants to discuss openly. It's super personal, it can be incredibly frustrating, but here's the good news. There are real science-backed ways to deal with it. And to really get it, we've got to start with what it actually feels like. Wow. I mean, that phrase really hits home for a lot of guys, right? That acute dread. It's like the second things get intimate, a timer just starts screaming in your head. And that right there, that is the very definition of performance anxiety. It's this awful, vicious cycle where you're so worried it's going to happen that it almost makes sure that it does. And look, if that sounds familiar, I want you to know something really, really important. You are so not alone. We're talking about as many as 1 in every 3 men. Think about that for a second. 1 in 3 guys will deal with this at some point. So let's get one thing straight right now. This is not some kind of personal failing. It's a real, recognized medical condition, plain and simple. Okay, so if we're gonna find a solution that actually works, we first have to cut through all the noise. We need to separate the myths from the actual physiology. Because let's be honest, the advice people usually get, it's pretty unhelpful. So let's get into what's really going on. You've probably heard it all, right? The common myth is that this is all in your head, that you just need to relax or, think of baseball or something like that. But the reality, the science tells us it's very often a physiological thing. The real root of the problem isn't about willpower. It's about something called nerve hypersensitivity. And here's a really great way to think about it. Imagine your nerve sensitivity is like the volume dial on a guitar amp. For a lot of guys dealing with this, that dial is just cranked up to 11. The nerve endings are just so sensitive that they're firing off signals super fast, way too fast for the brain to even have a chance to step in and say, hey, hold on a second. And when you understand that it's a physical volume dial problem, it suddenly makes sense why so many of the old solutions just felt wrong. They were like trying to fix a delicate watch with a sledgehammer. Yeah, total overkill. Just blunt instruments that often created a whole new set of problems. So take something like oral SSRIs. Sure, they can work, but they mess with your entire brain chemistry, and that can come with side effects you really don't want, like a lower libido. Then you've got the generic numbing sprays. These create a totally different issue. They just numb everything. For you, for your partner, it just kills the sensation for everyone. And things like behavioral therapy, they can be helpful, for sure, but they're just really, really hard to do when that physical trigger is just way too quick to get a handle on. Okay, so all of that brings us to the more modern approach. We're talking about targeted solutions that are way more precise. They're designed to tackle that core issue, the hypersensitivity, without all those messy drawbacks we just talked about. And one of the biggest game changers here is a technology called target absorption technology. It's pretty cool, actually. Instead of just making the surface of the skin go numb, it's designed to deliver a mild desensitizing ingredient underneath the skin. It gets it right to where it needs to go, to those overactive nerve endings where the whole thing starts. And because it gets absorbed, it works only where you apply it. So what does that mean for you? Well, for starters, you don't get that weird, unpleasant surface numbness. It also means there's little to zero transfer to your partner. And this is the big one, it preserves the good, pleasurable sensations for both of you. It's a win-win. Here's another great analogy. Think of those super sensitive nerve endings as tiny little tripwires set really low to the ground. A precision solution like this doesn't cut the wire, it just raises it up a bit. It makes it harder to set off by accident. It gives you that buffer, that little bit of extra room you need to feel in control. Now, using something like this is super simple, but there is one step that is absolutely critical. You cannot skip it. After you apply it, you have to, and I mean have to, wait the full 10 to 15 minutes. That's the magic window. That's how long it takes for that technology to do its thing and get fully absorbed. Once that time is up, you just wipe the area clean and you're good to go. No transfer. I love this quote. It just sums up the whole difference perfectly. The generic sprays, that's the hammer. It just smashes everything, kills all the feeling. But a precision method, especially one that's urologist-approved, that's like a fine-tuned guitar tuner. It's just carefully dialing back that sensitivity just enough so you have control, but the music, it keeps playing. And of course, talking to a urologist is always, always the best move to figure out what's right for you personally. But you know what? The biggest win here isn't really about adding more minutes to the clock. It's not just about the stopwatch. The real game changer is what happens in your head. It's a massive psychological shift. The real victory is getting your head back in the game,
It's being able to be fully present with your partner. When you're not constantly stressing and watching that mental clock, you can actually be there, in the moment. That little panic alarm that's always going off in your brain, it finally goes quiet.
And that's how you finally break that vicious anxiety cycle. Just knowing you have a reliable tool in your corner, it dials down the panic. Your focus shifts away from constantly checking in on yourself, and it moves to where it should be, on your partner. Suddenly, it's about connection again, not performance. And that confidence, it builds on itself, creating this amazing positive feedback loop that can actually help improve your natural control down the line.
So when you boil it all down, the goal isn't just about lasting longer. It's about swapping out that constant nagging stress for real, genuine confidence. It's about finally being able to relax and actually enjoy the experience. Which brings us right back to where we started. If you're tired of that feeling of dread, tired of watching the clock, the good news is that there are smart, targeted ways to change that story. You can finally stop watching the clock and start focusing on what really matters: confidence and connection.